problem statement and the situation. The situation is I have loaded iris dataset and saved it to a variable called df. df is a data frame and the first 5 rows of this df is as shown here. So the shape of this data frame is 150. The example data, the number of rows are 150 from starting with 0 to 149. Now I want to create a training set and a test set. Train set I want 120 of them and test set I want 30 of them. Now I don't want the first 120, that is 0 to 119 indices data as my train set and the remaining to be test set. I want to shuffle the indices. I want to randomly shuffle the indices and I want to pick 120, first 120 as my test set and the last 30 as my first 120 as my train set and last 30 as my test set. So this is the problem statement. And how are we going to solve it? We are going to solve it. We are going to do this shuffling using np.random.permutation. So first let's import the numpy as np. Then we want 150 indices, right? So what I did is I used np.arange and it picks up 0 to 149. And I'm going to simply pass this into np.random.permutation. Why? If you see the np.random.permutation, it takes in a list, okay, it takes in a list and shuffles randomly. So I want that shuffling, right? So I'll shuffle it and I will save it in res, and this is how res looks like. So it takes this and shuffles it. So this all is what is shuffled ones. Now I want the first 121s. So what I did is I just sliced this. Since this is a numpy array, I can slice it. So I used colon 120, which gives me first 120. Let's see. So it starts with 110, right? It starts with 110 and picks up all the first 120. And I want last 30, right? So minus 30 colon is what I used to pick up the last 30. The last is 148 here. So you can see 148. So now I have this train indices and test indices. So these are the 120 indices, first 120 indices, and these are last 30 indices. So what I'll do is I'll take this data from df, right? What I'll do is I'll use dot lock method, wherein train underscore indices are your rows that you want and colon is all your columns. I want these rows and all the columns, and I call it as train underscore set. Similarly, using df.log, I want these indices as rows and all the columns, and I'm going to save it in test underscore set. So let's run this. So these are the 120 data points that you get, which are randomly shuffled, and we call this as a train set. Similarly, the last 30 shuffled indices, we get train set. These are the 30 data points. So this is how you get train set and test set using np.random.permutation.